My name is Kori Lehr. I'm your host and the Director of Communications for the Senior Companies. We are having a very special episode today. We're calling it The Latest in Senior Tech. And who else should I bring to talk about that besides Bryan Stapp? Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm really glad that you're back with us. Last time you shared all kinds of important information regarding how to prevent falls, different systems that your company Medical Care Alert created to help protect seniors in their home and on the go. So today you have brought us your newest product, super amazing. He's been telling us behind the scenes about all of the different features that it has, which is so amazing. I cannot wait for you to get into it.
Yes, I'm very excited about it. We've been wanting to do this for a couple of years now, and it's taken us a while, but we're now launching it.
So you have brought with you the SmartWatch PRO.
Correct.
So he's got double watches on. You can't tell, but this is it. So this is the SmartWatch PRO. Like he said, he's told us behind the scenes a little bit, but that it has been sort of like years in the making, right? Smartwatches have been out for a while. Devices to help seniors in the event of a fall have been around for years and years and years, but now you've been able to innovate it and create this.
And this kind of brings everything together.
Yes.
So, everything, whether it's an in-home system or a GPS system or a watch, people have wanted all of that together in one nice, easy to use package, lightweight, convenient, and a lot of features, but not too many features.
Right.
And that's one of the keys thing. So this is the first smartwatch that's actually designed for seniors. And that's what's really nice about it. So it's got a nice big display. You can see it very clearly. Mm-hmm. And the menus are easy to get through, to call for emergency help, place a call to a family member, ask it a question like, what's the weather, check your steps, and check your heart rate. And that's it. It's simple.
But it's simple, but it's actually a lot.
Yes, it's a lot, but it's not overwhelming.
Right.
Like an Apple Watch or something else. It has a gazillion features with little tiny print. This is nice and easy to read and clear. And when you're not using those features, you can actually find out what time it is, which is nice.
That's important. Yeah, then you're not stuck going, why is it not working? Right. So I love that. And I will say, although it looks very large, it is extremely light.
Yeah, it's 2 ounces. And it just, you just strap it on your wrist, and once you have it on, you don't even know you're wearing it. It's really simple.
Yeah, we get used to wearing it. And a lot of the times I feel like seniors have been used to wearing watches for years and years and years anyway.
Yes, right. And I think that's one of the
natural transition.
Yes, and I think that's been one of the hesitations from a traditional medical alert system is there when you're introducing now a necklace or an additional wrist button in addition to the watch that they're already used to wearing, it's just more than they want. This now is your watch and it's your medical alert device, but it doesn't look like one.
No, it doesn't.
It's discreet,
at all. It looks like
profile.
one of those like the ones that the cyclists wear, actually.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's super stylish.
Well, and it does more than, a lot of folks will have a Fitbit or something.
Yes.
This does that, so now you don't have to have the Fitbit and the watch and the medical alert device.
Just all the way up your arm.
Yeah, right. A whole arm full of stuff.
I imagine, like you said, with the fall detection, which is the biggest thing. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so that's one of the big innovations with this watch. Fall detection historically has always been worn around the neck. And so what fall detection is there's sensors in the device that can detect a rapid change in motion. So when you fall, you tend to fall forward and at an angle, and your
all those broken hips,
change. All those broken hips and wrists, right? When you try to brace yourself. So when a fall detection pendant detects that motion, it will initiate the call for you. So it's especially useful if somebody's prone to blackouts or seizures or fainting, anything like that, where they wouldn't be able to press the button. We've never had it on the wrist because normally your normal motion just sets it off all the time, right?
Whisking.
Yeah,
I do that all the time.
Anything like that. So for the first time, we now have fall detection on the wrist, which is great. So now if somebody falls, the device will trigger.
Oh.
So you can hear it triggering. But what's really nice is you've got a 30-second buffer to say, I'm okay. So I can actually cancel that alarm. But if I let it go through, it would go through to the emergency response center. It would be flagged as detected by a fall, so the agent already knows what they're dealing with, and then they can respond appropriately to the person that's fallen.
That's amazing.
Right?
So I like that you have the option, because sometimes you just drop it and accidents happen. I have two things, because the fact that you just threw it on the ground is something that's hard to get over, right? Because we're so used to protecting our devices and making sure we're not dropping them. Like behind the scenes, he's like, just drop it. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, drop it. So I love that, right? It is meant for that to happen. Hopefully it doesn't have to, but in the event that it does, it'll be safe. And then second, so if they ignore it, if they lost consciousness, then and then they don't answer. So not only did they not tap I'm okay or yes, it's an emergency, what happens?
Right. So in that scenario where if we don't make voice contact with them over the watch, our normal protocol is to go ahead and send help.
Okay.
And then we notify the family. And because this has GPS, we know where they are. So if they were in the back field somewhere tending to their crops, or if they were stuck in a snowbank, or if they were at home, anywhere they are, the GPS will tell us their exact location, and that's where we dispatch help to.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's nice.
It really is. I mean, because before, like you said, it was that you're sort of stuck in the house. And I like that you mentioned, like, this is for the active person to have some protection.
Right. As
we age. Accidents happen. I slip on ice.
It does happen. It does happen.
It does. So your other device, you have the larger style speaker. We'll show you a picture of that too. The voice, your emergency operators would come through that. So their voice is still going to come through the watch.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Right. So this is the watch is two-way voice. And so when you press the button, and we could do a test if you wanted.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll go ahead and it's in test mode, so we won't talk to an actual operator. So I just hit the emergency response button. It can either go through, or I can accelerate it and hit call now.
Okay.
And then it's going to go through, and you would just have this conversation with the agent. This will just be a test. Put it up my microphone here.
Hello, this is Medical Care Alert. We have received a test from the Bryan Stapp 2 residence. I would like to test your microphone. Please tell me your name.
Bryan with Kori.
Thank you. I'll play it back. If you hear it, your microphone and speakers are working.
Bryan with Kori.
That's incredible.
Is that nice and clear?
Yes.
If you experienced any issues during...
So I'm going to terminate it. So that's how you would have that conversation.
That is so cool. Because if you really are injured and you can't physically get up, you've broken your leg, but you still have, even if you're, laid out, that's still clear enough and crisp enough that you would be able to get that information.
Yeah, exactly right. And you know where this can be great? When you slip in the shower, because this can get wet.
Love that.
Right? So you don't have to worry. You don't have to baby it, just like we threw it on the floor. You don't have to baby it. You can get it wet. You can be washing the dishes, that kind of thing, and it'll be just fine.
I like that you've broken down that barrier too, because I think, as you know, in testing all these different things, sometimes then people will say, oh, well, I took it off because I had to take a shower. I took it off when I was doing the dishes and I forgot to put it back on.
Yes. Well, and if they do that and they misplace it, the family can download the app on the phone, and they can actually ring the device and help them find it.
Can you show us?
I can.
I love that it has an app. So you have the heart rate monitor, the step monitor.
So I just pressed the locate now button on the app, and now it's ringing. So now you can say, Mom, it's in the kitchen where you left it. And you just tap it and it'll stop.
Or you just say, hey, where are you? I can't find you. And you just...
Yes, exactly right. Yeah, if you want to wake them up, just...
Oh my gosh. Well, that sounds like it could be fun.
Well, the nice thing is you have this app, and with the app, the family can be as involved as they want or not. So they can get notifications, they can locate the device, so they can see where the senior is. They can also program in medication reminders. So now the watch can vibrate and beep when it's time to take your pill.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Because in my experience in the healthcare field, medication management is continuously an issue. Sometimes you don't even have to be a senior for compliance to be an issue, right? We're just busy. We have busy lives, and if something changes in our routine, we just forget.
Right.
So I love that idea.
That's a nice feature.
That's a huge feature. So it has the GPS. The other one I want to talk about is kind of fun. So we talked about some of the serious things, but you have Ask a Question.
We have the Ask a Question feature, yes. So there's a virtual assistant on here, and we can ask it fun questions like, what's the weather like today? So let's give it a try. So we're just going to tap on the little microphone here. What's the weather like tomorrow? And it's thinking.
And it says
There will be
that.
sunny skies with a high of 62 degrees and a low of 40 degrees in Clawson tomorrow.
So it knows exactly where we are. It knows we're in Clawson. Give us the weather for tomorrow. Now we can plan our day.
I'm just blown away by how thoughtful you have been in creating this, because when I think of my work with seniors, it is all of those things, right? Trying to keep them safe and also prevent falls. And you talked a lot about that the last time that you were here. So I encourage you to watch that previous episode. But then the medication and also the questions, because I don't know about you, but when I would go into home healthcare, it was like the weather, the news, MSNBC, like all of those things are on. So I can just see all those questions being asked. And I love the volume because sometimes people have, hearing impairments or things, they're hard of hearing, things like that. And also too, we can show you a closer up of what that screen looks like, but it is very clear. The colors are bright.
Yes.
So it has the darker background, which helps to highlight those colors so that it is clear and it is easy to read.
Yes. And there are settings on here if somebody wants to adjust the volume up or down, make the brightness brighter or less bright. So you've got some ability to customize it to the way your senior needs it.
So I do want to open this box too, because you were telling me a little bit about the charger. So first off, the package is amazing. It's simple and yet very friendly. So we have the directions here. Here is the watch. Beautiful. I'm gonna be nice and take it out. He told me that there wasn't any snakes hiding in here, that's good, because I was nervous.
No booby traps.
So there's the watch right there. And then there is 2 boxes inside, which is awesome. It comes with a block, which I am happy to say, because as we know, new tech is somehow leaving that out.
I know.
Which,
they're getting cheap on it.
Go figure on your, $1,000 phone. Here's the charger base.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you keep that on the nightstand, and then when you go to bed at night, just put it on the nightstand. It takes about an hour to give it a full charge. The charge will last up to 2 days. It's really quick. It's a really quick charger.
That's amazing. And then it's magnetic.
Right. So and there's only one way to put it in there, so you can't make a mistake and think you're charging it and not charge it. Some devices have that.
Yeah, or it falls off, and this, it is secure in there.
Exactly.
It even has a little cutout where the watch button is.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then the cord is...
This is a strong magnet, too.
It gives you a nice click,
It sure
which is
does.
It's nice reaffirming that it's in there.
It's in there, yeah. Comes with its cord, so that's
good. It's got the cord, and it's got USB, so if you wanted to take it with you and plug it into your car charger or plug it into your computer, if you didn't have an outlet nearby, USB plugs are everywhere, so that's helpful.
Absolutely. Yeah, and this is a USB-C, too, so that's great. That's
USB-C on the one end, and then regular USB for plugging into the block or into the computer, whatever you're plugging into.
That's amazing. I tried to say, do you want me to just do a slip and fall? And he was like, listen, it's not connected. But that is so fun. I wish you guys could feel the strength of this magnet. I wish my watch had a magnet this good on it, because it's often not where I think it should be. How long did this take you to create? Because like I said, just looking at some of the details like this, it's such a fine detail.
And again, this is why it's designed for seniors, right? Because a lot of things like, your traditional Apple Watch, they have a certain expectation that you're techie and you know how to do this stuff. And you don't mind repairing the Bluetooth 10 times a month and
updates and everything else, and trying to find what you want and getting rid of, there's too many apps open and you're just trying to find messages.
Yes. So this took several years for us to actually come out with a watch that we thought was really going to meet the needs of our customers. But more importantly, the technology of being able to have that fall detection on the wrist. There's other companies that try that, including Apple, and it just doesn't work. It's either too sensitive, so you reach for something and it's going to go off, and now you're annoyed, now you won't wear it.
That's true.
So it defeats the purpose. Or in the case of like the Apple Watch, it's really designed for runners. It's looking for a runner who has tripped and fallen. It's not really designed for a senior who's fallen. So who's fallen. So that doesn't really work the way you might hope it would. And then if you don't have it already paired to the phone, then it's not going to call anybody, or it's going to call 911. 911 doesn't know who or where you are, so it's not the same.
Right.
With this, you've got the service where we know who you are, we know where you are, and we know who your family contacts are to notify.
Speaking of that, I would like you to talk a little bit about, please, who answers those calls?
Sure. So we have 3 monitoring centers. They're all based in the U.S. All of our agents are either EMT or EMD certified. So that means they're trained in medical dispatching. You're not just getting a college kid or an alarm guy or something like that. And so they'll answer the call, and they're trained to work with seniors. And so they'll say, Ms. Kori, do you need help? And then you just talk to them over the phone. And then if you weren't having a real emergency, you might say, I've fallen, I'm not hurt, call my daughter.
Okay.
Call my neighbor, whatever it is. And we'll do that for you. But if it is an emergency, then we dispatch help, and then we notify the family by calling, but also sending a text message. And we're the only company that sends a text message.
That I love, because that's sometimes you can't always answer the phone right away.
Right.
If you get that text, then you know, I got to stop.
Right. Exactly right.
I got to stop.
And then if we dispatch to your house, we also give you a lockbox to hide a key.
Okay.
So that EMS,
even with this?
Even with this, yes.
Wow.
So EMS, we don't want EMS to break down the door.
No.
So we save lives and we save doors. But if you have your door broken down, it's thousands of dollars.
It is.
It's very traumatic. And then people wonder, well, wait a minute, you broke down the door and you took grandma to the hospital. Who's guarding the house? Mm-hmm. The door's broken.
Well, then the senior's afraid to go back too, because then they can't lock the door.
Right. And who can get a handyman these days?
Well,
right?
This is true.
It's a whole other thing. But no, it's very expensive and traumatic to break down the door. So we include the lockbox, and you don't have to put it on the doorknob. You can put it on the railing, or you can put it on a side door, just as long as we know where to send EMS.
So do you guys know the location of the lockbox? Like
yes.
if you guys say like, I don't want to put it on my door, that's too obvious and this and that, and you said, hey, I'm going to hang it on my fence next to the back door.
Yes.
Is that something then that you would relay to EMS?
Yes. The family just has to let us know where it is. Don't make it a treasure hunt. We've had people do that.
I believe it.
You go through the gate, and then there's a rock next to the tree. Make a left. No.
It's next to the gnome with a red hat.
Yeah. Not the green hat.
Yeah.
The red hat. Yeah, no, we're not doing that.
But again, like I really want to reference like all those barriers that you are breaking down.
Yes.
To make this accessible, make it easy, and hopefully, like you said, save a life. I mean, in my past as working in physical therapy, I can't tell you how many patients I saw that said I laid on the floor for 12 hours or 16 hours, and their faces are just black and blue and yellow and every color that you do not want your face to be.
Yes.
Purple with goose eggs this big, and it's terrible. Like thinking back on them, it makes me want to cry for them.
Yeah. And
if someone could have got there a little soon, not saying that they still wouldn't be bruised or hurt from falling, but the trauma, like you mentioned, that goes into having that fall alone, let alone lying on the floor for that long, is terrible.
Well, and you're addressing the physical trauma.
Yeah.
There's also the emotional, mental trauma of laying on the floor, feeling helpless, wondering when someone's going to come by. And as we all know, seconds can feel like hours when you're incapacitated. So, it's just there's nothing good with a fall. Mm-mm. And it's so easily preventable by having something that costs $1 a day to give them that peace of mind. Plus the fact that if you're not able to live at home anymore and you now have to go to assisted living or a different living environment, that's expensive.
It is.
And that can break a lot of families, or they just don't know how to handle it.
That's right. After an injury or something like that too. And I will say, to piggyback on that, a lot of the time too, once someone does have that sort of traumatic fall, they're scared to continue with some of the activities that they were doing before because they don't want to fall again.
Correct.
They become afraid of falling. And then really what that does is increase that risk for falling because you become weaker. You're not as steady on your feet. So it really is just a vicious circle. And like you said, this isn't going to prevent it, but it is going to help keep you safer in that if someone can get to you faster.
Right. Well, it's all about peace of mind and empowerment.
Yes.
And independence, right? So now to your point, if I was used to taking my dog for a walk, but I cut back on that, now with something like this, I'm going to have more confidence to go walk the dog and not worry about tripping on the sidewalk or something like that because I know I can get help.
And they know exactly where you are. You're at Acorn and Elm or whatever, for instance.
And they can track their steps. How about that?
Then you can say, my daughter's been nagging me and I walked 1,000 steps today.
That's right. That's right. I'll show her.
Exactly. So just to sort of review a couple of the features that the watch has, like you said, heart rate monitor, it monitors and tracks your steps, fall detection, which we've talked a lot about, ask a question, which I still love. I would really like to see like a receipt of questions people ask it, just like Alexa, because I think it's hilarious. It has the GPS so that people know exact location. You mentioned that it's water resistant, so you can still do the dishes and bathe and water your flowers and so on and so forth. The two-way communication with both the company and you guys will send the text if something happens, and then you can have a one contact on there.
Yes.
That you can make like brief short calls, not meant for, hour-long catch-up, but, just a quick. And then also the companion app for yourself and family. I do have a question about that. I know that you said like the family can download it. Now, what if like you said, I am hip and I'm independent and I'm going out, like, can you have one device, two app connections?
Yeah, great question. So yes, multiple users can have the app. So if the senior themselves has a smartphone and they want the app, they can have it, which is useful, again, if they misplace the device. Yes. It's also got room for you to keep track of, your doctor's phone numbers and your medications and things like that. So there's other useful features in the app. But the other nice thing is, so let's say you're the son or daughter and you have two parents that you're monitoring. They could each have a watch. You access them both through the same app.
Wow.
So now you say, okay, show me mom's profile, show me dad's profile. And there's no limit on that. So you could be caring for a bunch of people. If you're a paid caregiver, you could have a lot of your clients on here, all with the apps. Or if you're hospice, you could be tracking your hospice patients. So there's a number of different ways that that can be used.
That's really cool and useful. I like that you can have more than one person who has the app, because a lot of people are sharing locations on stuff. It's not as weird as it used to be. You'll pull up and you have 10 different of your family members on there. And I don't think that it's any different than that.
Right. But it is HIPAA compliant and it is secure, and you have to have a password. So not just anybody can get in there. It has to be an authorized user.
That's cool. And I like that it's HIPAA compliant. You guys must have put a lot of work into that as well, because there are a lot of useful apps that healthcare providers would like to use, but unfortunately they can't because they're not.
Yes, exactly right. Yeah, that's a critical part of any of this that we do. Everything's got to be HIPAA compliant because we're dealing with sensitive information. We've got their address, we've got access to their home, access to their family. All that has to be very, very secure.
Yeah. I know you mentioned that you had talked with Hospice, and you just mentioned Hospice again. Can you tell me a little bit more about how they could use that feature?
Sure. So we recently had a symposium with a bunch of hospice caregivers, and what they loved about the watch, first of all, with hospice, you never dispatch 911.
Right.
Right. We always contact hospice, and we're one of the few medical alert companies that really knows how to work with hospice on those kind of things. Because a lot of times they just mess up and they end up dispatching 911 when they're not supposed to. We have specific hospice action plans, and we know how to set that up. So when they press the button and they need emergency help, it would come to us, we would find out what the situation is, and then we would notify hospice. But they love this companion button, that this could either be programmed to call hospice directly, bypassing us, or it could call the caregiver. And they felt like this was really something useful for people who are in hospice who needed something but didn't want all the commotion, or they didn't want to bother hospice about something. They just wanted to get a hold of their son or daughter.
Wow.
So they felt like this was a really good way for hospice patients to stay in touch but also be independent at home. Because a lot of times Hospice is not 24/7. Hospice, they can still be left alone for days.
Well, and yeah,
even though they're undergoing hospice
and we've
treatment.
talked a lot about hospice, and I will just take a brief moment just to say, although this isn't about hospice, like hospice, you don't have to be like actively dying where you can't move at all.
Correct.
And I encourage people to do their research about hospice and get into it sooner.
Hospice is
just
about
for
life.
the benefits. That's right, just for the benefits. So I would be really interested to follow up with you in a couple months just to see sort of how that's working out, because I think the more education we do on both of those things will help a lot of people.
Yes, 100%.
To tap into that. And that's the point of this show, actually, is to bring, like we said, the newest in senior tech to face all of those different situations head on and have those difficult conversations and give people a little bit of an education so that they have a jumping point. So, because sometimes I feel like too, like people are hesitant to talk about things because they don't feel like they know enough information. So they don't want to seem like they're stupid or things like that. And so that makes you scared to talk about it. And so if they can just listen to this and have a little bit more confidence in any of the topics that we talk about, or ask, call your, the company and ask the questions about the watch and ask the questions about the other two devices, get empowered and take control of that.
Yeah, it's tough for caregivers because, you're now thrown into this world that you had no experience with previously in most cases. And you're learning about hospice and Medicare and Medicaid and insurance and doctors and conditions and all. And it's very overwhelming. Yeah. And it's a Rubik's Cube, and you get conflicting information from a lot of different companies or different providers, all well-meaning, all well-intended. But the correct information can still be conflicting.
Yeah.
And it's different in my state than it is in your state. Right. So, those are things that people have to deal with. So the caregivers have a really, really tough job.
It is a tough job. It's a tough job, but I will say it's a fulfilling. It can be very fulfilling if you can get little help with tips and tricks that'll really help you. Before we go, I do want to talk about, because this is not the only device you have, and you were on a previous podcast where like I mentioned before, we talked about different fall prevention techniques in the home, which again, I encourage you to go watch because it's full of really good information. But you also have two other devices beyond the watch. The watch just happens to be the newest.
Yes. So the traditional personal emergency response system we call our home system. So it's designed to work in and around the home. So you have a button that you wear either around your neck or on your wrist. It has a range of up to 1,000 feet to a speakerphone that's in your home. It's about the size of a hardback book, and you just set it on the counter or the table. And when you press the button, the speakerphone calls our emergency response center, and you just talk out loud over the two-way speakerphone. So that's great for people who just need protection at home. Then we have our home and away GPS system, which is a device about the size of a Tic Tac box, and you wear it around your neck or on your hip. And that can find you anywhere in the United States. And it's a all-in-one device, and it also has fall detection. But all of our systems have fall detection. But the home and away system, you can now just talk directly into the pendant, and we can find you if you fell in the Costco parking lot, or if you're in Florida or Arizona. If you have two residences, we know where you are. And those are great. And that also comes with a companion app for the family to track the device and find out where they are.
I like that you mentioned Florida, because we were talking about that. As a lot of our listeners know, we've just opened a new office in Florida, and so we're working on that. And we had learned that a lot of the senior livings down there have like seasonal stays. And you were like, I'm hip to that because we have
snowbirds.
Well, right. And you're like, well, we have clients who have their main residence in Michigan or whatever, Arizona, and what state, and then they go do a prolonged stay somewhere else, and they just call us and say, hey, for the next 3 months, I'm going to be in Indiana, or I'm going to be in Florida, and just so you guys know, like, this is where I would need it to be dispatched first.
Exactly right. So we keep those profiles on file for them. So we have residence 1, residence 2, residence 3 in some cases, where when they move to that seasonal location, they just let us know.
That is so cool. I mean, because when my grandma got older, she sold her house and then sort of just moved around and stayed between like my dad and the siblings and stuff, which was really cool. That worked for her. And so a lot of the time she lived with my dad for probably, I don't know, 8 or 10 months out of the year. And then 2 months she'd go down in Ohio and West Virginia and visit our family down there. And so I could see like that would definitely be something that would be useful.
Well, and one thing that people don't always think about is, so you've got residence 1 and residence 2. your contacts may be different in those two residences.
Right.
Who you want us to notify
Yeah.
or who you want us to notify first. So we keep all that on track. And same with the lockbox. You might have two different lockboxes. So we keep all that on file. So when you do move to your second residence, we can take care of it.
I can see where all of this is getting complicated and why you would make sure that it was HIPAA compliant, because that
Yes.
could be a lot for someone who is on the go.
Exactly right.
So where can our listeners find you?
So online, medicalcarealert.com. We cover, of course, all of Michigan, but we're in all 50 states. As far as Florida, we're a Gator 100 company. We've been recognized 3 times by University of Florida.
That's big.
Florida is our 3rd biggest state in terms of the number of subscribers.
Makes sense.
But you can find us online at www.medicalcarealert. Care is our middle name, very important. And the smartwatch will be right there on the front page, along with every other product that we have.
I do want to mention too, your website has like thousands of different resources on it. You have fall prevention tips. There is a blog, just you name it, and there's a lot of information on there.
Yeah, thank you. There's a lot of content on there for people to learn about a number of these different topics that caregivers care about.
Yeah, it's incredible. And there is like a whole like booklet you can download and stuff like that. I think in the last episode, we added that link in the description just so that people can just learn a little bit more and feel a little bit more empowered. If you would like to call the local number, you can call 248-313-4077. Their national line, 855-272-1010. If you have any questions for Bryan or myself, please feel free to give those 2 phone numbers a call, or you can call me at 586-204-8500 or email me at kl@theseniormovers.com. We are always looking for your comments, feedback, suggestion for topics. We're absolutely here to get that information from you so that we can continue to improve our show and give you the information that you want. You can follow us on YouTube at The Senior Companies. You can follow us on Facebook at The Senior Movers, Instagram at Adviso. We are all over the place. So, definitely check out those different sites. I encourage you to subscribe and also visit medicalcarealert.com. Thank you so much for joining us again. I mean, every single time you come, you're teaching us new things. I love the previous episode too. I can't mention that enough because there are so many tips. I mean, you're definitely a pioneer in the industry, and we respect your passion and your innovation for trying to protect such a vulnerable population who means a lot to us.
Well, thank you. It's been a lot of fun, and we save lives every day, so it's very rewarding.
Not everybody can say that in their job.
Not everyone can say that, no.
I'm still trying to get him to tell me some funny calls, but he won't do it. Yeah, exactly. I don't need their names. I just want the funny stories.
The funny stories.
I know I had a lot when I did therapy, but he is a professional. I'm just kidding. But again, Bryan, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it, and definitely look for the SmartWatch Pro. And we'll see you next time on the Senior Podcast Show.